All right, everyone. Hello and welcome. I hope you can all hear us. Exciting day. Ohio State did not win the Big Ten championship, but they did a lot to improve their odds of getting a better draw in the NCAA tournament. Ended up with a number 2 seed. They're going to be in the South region facing Oral Roberts. Jared, Whitney, let's just get your thoughts on Ohio State's run in the Big Ten tournament, how important it was to win a few games after that 4-game losing streak and be the 6th overall team in the Big Dance.
Go ahead, Whitney.
Okay. I think it was huge. Not only because the great thing with the Big Ten was even if they won just a couple, they were beating good competition. So it was going to help their status no matter what they did. I did not expect them to do as well as they did just because they did not look fatigued until the first half today. Then what's weird is in the second half, they didn't really look that tired at all. So I think the biggest thing is going to be getting them rested, getting healthy. They get Kyle Young back, and then who knows? They could definitely make a run because they're not going to play 4 games in 4 days again.
No doubt. Jared?
I think what that run tells you is what Ohio State's capable of. I think they're capable of winning the national championship. I'm not sure I thought that was true even a week ago. They are capable. You think about what happened today, you pretty much don't get what you expect to get out of E.J. Liddell at all. I mean, he just had a miserable day, especially at the end of the game. My goodness, poor guy. Just couldn't get anything to fall. You get a superhero effort from Dwayne Washington that sort of makes up the difference for that. But, I think this is a team that when they put their whole lineup together, they have tremendous depth. They have confidence in their depth. They shoot so poorly to start the game today. It's just such a big gap to overcome. They are an extremely dangerous team at this point. I know their record is, they're a 2 seed for a reason, right? They lost 4 games late, and they granted to very good teams, but they lost at all the tournament teams, with Michigan State getting in. But they absolutely are one of the better teams in America, have an opportunity to win a national title. I love their bracket. When it first came out, I went, okay, this is manageable. This is a possibility that they could make a little run here when you look at the matchups potentially down the road, which we'll talk about here. So I don't know. I mean, I think they're in a very good situation. And I think over the past 4 days, they deserve a Medal of Honor for what they did. I thought they battled and despite some injuries and some other issues that arose, they did nothing but fight. And you love going to battle with a team like that.
We'll get back to Ohio State, but talking about a team with fight, the Ohio Bobcats. 4 games in 36 days. I'm wearing the Forest Green today.
Justin was ready.
Let's just focus on how OU was able to overcome 2 different COVID pauses, get back into the tournament for the first time since 2012. Second year for Jeff Bowles, and they are here. They didn't get a chance to even play in the MAC tournament last year. What does it say about what he's done with this program to get them back in there? And by the way, they led for 117 minutes of 120 possible minutes in the MAC tournament. Your guys' thoughts just on the Bobcats making the big dance?
I would not want to be a major team playing the Ohio Bobcats right now. I mean, Jared, you go for it. That's my thought. It's simple as that.
Well, when you watch those games, Justin and Whitney, you're right. I don't know that a lot of teams in America have a combo like Jason Preston, Ben Vanderplas, and Wilson. Those 3 together, plus you add in Ben Roderick when he's hitting threes.
Yeah.
I kind of love their team. As a matter of fact, if you look at their draw, yeah, they're playing Virginia. Virginia plays a completely different pace. They will slow you down. They'll make it really hard to get to 50 points. Virginia's going to have trouble. And we obviously know what happened to Virginia here at the end of the season with their COVID issue. OU can speak fluently that language of what COVID is like affecting your program. I think it is a great match. And you know what? You look at their whole bracket. I mean, the 5 seed in that region is Creighton. Justin, your boys made the Sweet 16 a few years ago. I don't think it would be a stunner if Ohio University is in the Sweet 16 again.
Wow.
Surprise
You're getting me too excited.
No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And that's what's so interesting, too, is we talk about the COVID issue. There were questions whether or not Virginia would be in. Now, there was a deadline as for teams to say that they were going to be able to play in the tournament. Nobody opted out. So right now, everyone is in. But over the next 48 hours, I mean, that could change. So I think it's a great setup for OU, and I would love to see them get to the Sweet 16. That'd be so much fun. It'd be so great.
I just want to look at some of the rest of the bracket before we get back to Ohio State. I didn't get a chance to see who's playing who, what matchups stand out to everybody. I don't know, Whitney, Jared, how much you got to saw of Selection Sunday because it was overtime. I hope you went to the bathroom because right away Selection Sunday happened. And no time in between, and that's what we love about March.
There's a first-round matchup that immediately caught my attention that I don't remember what region it's in, but I can look that up for you real quick. It's a 3-14 game. Oh, it's in the South region. So it's in the Ohio State region, the South region. Arkansas-Colgate is a first-round game.
Okay.
Arkansas-Colgate might be 115 to 114 final score. That will be so much fun to watch. And, Colgate's lost, I think, one time this year, but they're a 14 seed. And, I love the offensive potency in that game. Another game in the first round, also in that region, is North Carolina and Wisconsin. I think that's a really interesting matchup because, North Carolina is talented. We all know that. It's been an awful year for them. So I think if you're looking at some interesting first round games, I love those two matchups. I think those are incredible.
I'm looking kind of a little bit ahead here, and I think for me, the best team since about middle February has been Oklahoma State.
The other OSU.
They are scary, and they are very good. They're one of the best players in the country. I know we focus so much on stars and Iowa Sumo, and we should. They are very good. Hunting them down there at Oklahoma State, very, very good. They are in Illinois' bracket, and not just in their bracket, in their half of the bracket. So if they play through and get to the Sweet 16, that is the matchup, and I think that would be incredible to watch. Exciting stuff.
It's inevitable that we talk about it because Ohio State was a 2 seed and Michigan a 1 seed. Despite Ohio State beating them in the Big Ten tournament, they had a very close game in the regular season. How much emphasis is placed on a conference tournament? Did it really matter that Ohio State beat Michigan, or was it kind of decided going into it after Ohio State beat Purdue that they were going to be a 2, Michigan was going to be a 1, even though Ohio State played more games than the Wolverines this year?
Yeah, Whitney and I were talking about that yesterday on Pepsi Sports Saturday, and I think in my heart of hearts, right, you'd want to believe that the committee would have 2 brackets made. One with Ohio State winning the Big Ten, and one with Illinois winning the Big Ten. And the winner of the game would be a 1 seed, and the winner of the game would be a 2 seed. I think we know that's not true.
Yeah.
Year after year, we know that the committee basically has the bracket done by the middle of Sunday. And so the Big Ten Tournament Championship game, because of the scheduling, is pretty much just an exhibition. It's an opportunity to go win a conference title. There's something to be said for that. You cut down nets, you get a trophy. But in terms of its impact on seeding lines, I just don't think there's a historical precedent for that. I don't think we've seen that very often, other than a scenario where if the winner of the Big Ten tournament couldn't get in the tournament other than winning the championship game, which obviously doesn't happen very often. So I just don't think there was any. I think if Ohio State makes that big comeback and they win the game today, I still think they're a 2, and I still think Illinois is a 1, and I still think Michigan's a 1. I don't think anything changes. But I still think that, yeah, and I think it's fine. I mean, everybody's got their roadmap. I don't think it's that big a deal. And I really think that, the Big Ten, there are legitimately like 6 or 7 teams in the Big Ten that could go to the Final Four, which is just incredibly exciting to think about when you look at, when you get down into the second weekend of the tournament, who's still going to be alive. There could be a whole lot of Big Ten teams still with a chance in the second weekend.
I think that for an Ohio State fan, you don't want them on that 1 seed because they were probably going to be the last one. That means that you should have the toughest road to get there. Now, of course, we don't really know because it all comes down to matchups. And those are things that sometimes you don't know is going to be an issue until you get on the court and you're like, oh, well, yeah, that doesn't work out, or that's easy. So I think that they kind of landed exactly where they should have. And if you're a Buckeye fan, probably where you wanted them to. Just kind of in the middle of that 2 line.
Fair enough. Let's talk about Ohio State playing with or without Kyle Young. How important is he to the lineup? How much did they miss him these past couple of games? And how concerning is it that he's had 2 concussions now in the past 3.5 weeks?
I think that's far, far more important than anything else. It's such a delicate issue to begin with. And that kid, he has 0 luck when it comes to injuries.
Yeah.
It's been an awful, awful run for him over 4 years. I hope he has a chance to play in the tournament. Nobody got to play in the tournament last year. There was no tournament. I hope he has a chance to, if he's medically cleared, get a chance to play and could play healthy minutes, and could be the guy that we know he is. That might be asking a lot, but it's just such a shame that happened. And I think that's a big factor, but it's not the only factor. You saw him play today and saw him play yesterday without him. And they have a deep lineup. They use more Seth Towns, and they're able to adjust a little bit, play teams that are far bigger than them. Most teams can be bigger than them, to be honest. And I think that's going to be the challenge as they look at the map going down the bracket is, you mentioned matchups. That's everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they can get through this bracket without playing a team with a dominant center, I think it enhances their chances. It certainly doesn't make it quote unquote easier, but I mean, they just proved that they could match up with Michigan. Did a phenomenal job in that game against one of the bigger teams in America with great talent down low, and obviously Illinois. They got a starter and a backup at center that most teams would just be dying to have.
Yeah, he scored 10 straight in today's title game when he came in.
Yeah,
for
he
Kofi.
Did. Just insane.
Yep.
I mean, I think that Kyle Young, with that kind of takes away from Ohio State, is a little bit of that edge. I think that it's more like his personality is kind of, of course he's going to bring the fight, he's going to bring the hustle and all of that, but it's almost as if when he's playing, that infiltrates into everyone else. So that's the question is, who's going to bring that? And today it was Dwayne Washington and CJ. I mean, they did. They just emotionally took over that game. Now, are they going to be able to do that for this many weeks or games in a row? That's the question. But I hope he gets to play like Jared said. It deserves it, man.
No
right?
doubt.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, just like you just see him get out there. And we saw what he could do healthy. The beginning of that Purdue game, that was the healthiest he's probably been in about 2 weeks.
Yeah. And he had a great first half, too.
Points.
Yeah, he had a great first half.
Amazing.
It's just too bad that he had to miss that game. Ohio State probably okay without him if he did have to miss one weekend. I'm just curious to get both of your takes on how important was it for Ohio State to have the weekend/Thursday, Friday that they did, where they were up on opponents by double digits. They let them come back in the game. They still found a way to win those games. Maybe not how you would want, but they won. How important is that to get that experience and go through that? Even today, E.J. Liddell had no field goals in the first half, and they were still within 5 points. They played probably one of their worst halves in the first 10 minutes and then got back into the game. How important is it going through that stretch, getting ready for this stretch that's coming up?
Find a way, right? It's literally survive and advance.
Yep.
That's what they did, and they have now been tested in so many ways going in. Hopefully they don't do that to fans going forward, because I'm not going to lie, it was just watching it go back and forth, watching my husband, and he's just sitting there going, what is going on? But I think that they really kind of battle tested. Has there been a team more battle tested over the last week? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
maybe not. Jared?
I think in terms of their effort, their attentiveness, it's all there. I mean, they've definitely got all of the pieces that you would require of a national championship caliber team. And I think that's really interesting. I don't think they have, the one thing I would say, the caveat to that is they don't have their own big man. They've played well against big men, but they don't have their own big man who's going to dominate the game from a post standpoint. I think with their guard play, they could get hot. My biggest concern is they are very streaky right now. I mean, you're talking about 10-minute droughts without a basket. Bold strategy, Cotton. You go the first 10 minutes and have one basket. That's just not going to get it done against the better teams, and really even against mid-major teams. You just can't have those kinds of droughts that they've been going through the past few days. You have to love the defensive commitment against Michigan. I thought that was an enormous improvement from what we saw a few weeks ago. I thought they doubled well in the post. And they also were able to close out on shooters a little bit better. It's a difficult thing defensively when you're asking your other forward to come over and you're doubling Dickinson or even Wagner for example, and you leave shooters open. But Ohio State did a good job recovering yesterday, getting a hand in the face and That shows a sign of defensive commitment that maybe we didn't see a few weeks ago. So that's improvement. Chris Holtman said that after the game. So if that kind of defensive commitment hangs around, that obviously adds to their capabilities. I would say this: in the first game, you look at Oral Roberts and what they do. They average 81 points a game, almost 82. So you better play defense. This is a team that can score. Their guard, his name is Max Adams. He averages 24 points a game. They've got another guy that averages 18 a game. So that's a team that can fill it up. Now, granted, they were the fourth place team in their league. They won their conference tournament. But it's a team that can score. And so, you've got to be committed defensively. Maybe this weekend you saw a little bit more of that from Buckeyes.
And it's a team that's hot right now.
Sure.
If they won their tournament.
You saying all that reminds me a lot. To go back to it, the Ohio Bobcats, they're a top 15 scoring team in the country, and they're going to face a Tony Bennett-led team that's always about defense. Jared, you talked about matchups. These are two polar opposites when it comes to a really, really efficient offense that scores every other possession or basically every possession, and a defense that does not give up very many points. Something's got to give, right?
Love it. It's a beautiful matchup by the tournament committee, looking at how to pair styles together. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it. And I don't think it's overwhelming for Ohio. Look, that team has been through it all, right?
Sure.
But you look back to the beginning of the year, forget the MAC tournament. They played great. Go back to the beginning of the year when they played Illinois, at Illinois, and went toe-to-toe with the Illini, and frankly, should have won the game. If you go back and look at what happened in the final minutes of that game, OU had every opportunity to win. They couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
But they have, again, some of the more talented players in the whole tournament. I mean, Jason Preston, look, he missed a lot of time this year, but when he played, my goodness, he's one of the better players on the court. That's why the NBA is thinking, they'd like to have Jason Preston with his ball handling skills and his tenaciousness, his ability to get to the hoop. I kind of like that matchup for OU. I think they can handle that defensive pressure because they're unique. They can shoot it and they can get inside on you. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm not calling it. I'm just saying the Bobcats, I think, should feel pretty good about that.
And their size players can spread out. That's the other thing. They're not like a traditional center size team. They can spread the court. Ben Vanderplas can stretch it and shoot the three. I mean, they are a very versatile team. So when you have a team like that likes to lock it down, when you are that versatile, it makes it much harder.
Yeah, and you talk about a guy down low too, Dwight Wilson. He can get that thing done in the post. I mean, this is a guy that field goal percentage, I think he's top 5 in the country. As soon as they get it into him, he usually does not miss from down low. So he is a presence down there. And like you said, they've got shooters everywhere. So I think we're in for a really, really enjoyable game for the Bobcats. Let's talk about something that we've never discussed in March Madness history, and that is The Replacements. It's a movie with Keanu Reeves, but this year it's featuring teams that may get to play in the tournament or may not. What is going on with that situation? And I mean, how do you stay prepared if you're a team that, had their bubble burst and maybe you can get back in?
Well, Whitney, you got to talk about Louisville.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've been saying it for the last week. Like, how crazy would it be if neither Kentucky nor Louisville got in and Rick Pitino somehow got in? And Rick Pitino has somehow gotten Iona in the tournament. It's absolutely crazy. No, so basically what's going on here is there is a 48-hour window that has begun since the bracket came out. It ends on the 16th at 6 o'clock. 8 hours. If a team has so many positive tests that they cannot move forward, depending on what conference they're in, they'll go to replacement teams. I say depending on what. If it's a conference with one bid, so like a mid-major and the only team from that conference is the tournament champion, then that conference would select the team to replace that tournament champion if they couldn't play in the tournament. Now, if it's like a Big 10 team or a Big 12 team, one of the majors that has a bunch of different teams, that's where the replacement teams would come to play. Louisville is the first replacement team. Talk about bitterness. You don't get in, but then you still have to hang out and you still got to kind of, like you said, mentally prepare and to get ready to play. I mean, I think it's just wild. Colorado State is the second team, St. Louis the third, and Ole Miss the fourth. So what those 4 teams are is they were the first 4 to not get in, first 4 out, as we say. Those are your replacement teams. The replacements. No Keanu Reeves. It's unfortunate.
Do we like this idea, or would you rather just, if a team has a positive test, let the other team advance? How do you feel about that, Jared?
It's a little messy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't know if you're gonna execute it perfectly. I'm not sure that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I hope the situation doesn't happen, frankly, because I hope that Kansas and Virginia and Duke. Well, obviously, don't have to worry about Duke, but all the schools that went through this. Yeah, don't have to worry about that. But all the schools that went through this, I hope they show up and play. We don't have to worry about this. If we do have to, I mean, it'll be fine. We'll get through it. We'll play the tournament. I'm just making the argument that we were sitting here a year ago canceling every sport under the sun and would have taken this scenario over that scenario every day. So if it's messy, if it's weird, if it's uncomfortable, if it's awkward, okay, better than zero.
I mentioned the 48 hours. So after that 6 o'clock Eastern time on the 16th, if a team has to pull out after that, then the game is no contest and the other team would advance. So this is only for 48 hours. Make that very, very clear.
Right.
So it's not like on Thursday a team suddenly can't get in. Replacement team, no, that team moves on. So very, very clear about that.
For anybody that was curious, Ohio State being a 2 seed, that's the first time they've been that high since 2013. Do we see any parallels from the team that went to the Elite Eight and the year before that to the Final Four? Or is it just a completely different team? Because obviously it's a different coach.
What do you think, Whitney?
I'm trying to think back to everybody on that team. I mean, I know that you have the hustle of Aaron Kraft on that team. And that is something with this team. There is that grit. And Chris Holtman even said it yesterday that word's maybe used too much, but he was like, I don't know what other word to say about this team. And so there's a little bit of that, a little bit of that edge to, I mean, they're definitely physical. And I think it really shows physical does not equate to height. So much when you talk about a team that's physical, you think about, okay, they're big men. They're big men. This Ohio State team, they are just a tough squad, and they will push you around. And there's out there that are great shooters, but they've never had to play that constant battle.
Right.
And that can be a challenge when you've never faced that.
Jared?
I think if we're talking about, comparing Ohio State teams, it's really hard to do because they're all different makes and models. I just think this year's team is uniquely talented from an offensive standpoint, even comparing them to some of the best Thad Matta teams. You think to the year where they were the number 1 overall seed, and Evan Turner's National Player of the Year, and they've got remarkable talent, 1 to 5. I don't know that team, other than Turner, had a guy that could go for 30 in a game. And I think that's what the Buckeyes have this year. Dwayne Washington showed that today. He can go for 30 in a game. And he is a man. There is no better player in America to give you a heart attack on one possession and get you cheering on the next possession than him. He's just a unique talent in that regard. Liddell has that talent.
Yeah.
We've seen it this year. Today it didn't show up. Tomorrow it might. The next day it might. It's just they are fully capable of having those kind of explosive days. And I think that's the difference. And the other thing is, I think those Matta teams might have been a bit more talented defensively. Had more shot changers near the hoop. And, I'll tell you what, the Liddell play at the end of regulation.
I was going to say, he had the biggest play today.
Yeah, the block.
Block
on the board by Kofi. Yeah.
Full salute on that. But, those Matta teams were extremely talented on the defensive end. And if you wanted to play for Thad, you'd better play your butt off on that end. And you have, a guy that's the all-time leader in steals playing guard for you on those teams, then that kind of helps things. But yeah, I think this is a really good team. It's a really good Buckeye team. They got a chance, playing well. I like the way they're trending. But matchups are everything.
Can I throw a curveball? Do we know where they're playing at? Which facility in Indianapolis?
No.
Do we know that?
Not sure.
What if they play Berkeley?
You know what, Whitney? I just checked the bracket looking for that. It's not active yet. So
for everybody watching that doesn't know, that's where Butler plays, and Chris Holtman obviously used to coach there. Is that an advantage? I don't know.
That's right.
Because the rim situation. I mean,
yeah.
Is it the Hoosiers thing? Where you take the the tape and you make sure like, oh, yep, it's all the same measurement. Doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't know.
Well, one of the venues is Hinkle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that 100% applies. If you don't take a tape measure out to the court and recreate the whole scenario, what are we even doing here?
One last question I had for the panel, and I just looked it up to make sure. 9 teams from the Big Ten in the Big Dance. That's the most the conference has ever sent. What does that say about what Ohio State did this year and how successful they were in the conference? Fell just short of winning the Big Ten title in the best year they've ever had, having a crazy 7-game win streak in the middle of the season, being a top 10 team. What does it say about Ohio State and the rest of the conference that this year, unlike any other, they had their best season collectively?
2 of those are 1s and 2 more are 2s.
Right.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I had to throw that in there.
It's a weird year when Michigan State is one of the last 4 teams in the tournament.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that speaks to the depth in the league. And, I think it's just been a phenomenal year. It's been so fun for us. We, not to get all, reflective about the year we've had, but I mean, we were treated to something special this year, watching Big Ten basketball. Night in, night out, you saw great games. You saw elite players in the national landscape in this one league. And that was a really cool treat to have, everybody deserved to have something to cheer about and to enjoy. And the fact that 9 teams of the 14 were good enough to play in the NCAA tournament. And that gives you an idea of how elite the coaching is in the league. Recruiting's excellent. It matters in the Big Ten. But, the Big Ten still hasn't won a title in, a quarter century?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the time, man. And there's no doubt more than half of those Big Ten teams could absolutely win it all.
What's amazing to me is you don't hear that many people saying, oh, it's too many.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It really has been just amazing to watch. I mean, I was so lucky to go cover the Michigan regular season game. I remember sitting in there and thinking at halftime, I am so lucky to be in this arena just to cover. I mean, watching it even through a tiny camera lens.
The players feel the exact same way. I mean, from college level all the way to high school. I mean, last night Newark suffered a heartbreaking double overtime loss. And the one thing that both Coach Schumann and his daughter Emma had to say was, I'm just so grateful that we got to have this season because of the way last year was taken from them. Same with, the men and the women in the college level. The season was just yanked. The carpet came up from under them. And then this year they had that chance to play and to see who was the best team. So at least athletes have that perspective going into the tournament this year. Any parting thoughts from anybody before Zoom kicks us off in about 5 minutes or so?
I'll say this. I moved here from a place called Louisville, Kentucky. Very excited to cover big-time college football. I am now covering one of the best teams in college basketball as well. And that has been
interesting. The same thing can be said about Alabama and their chance of winning a national title too in basketball.
Oh gosh, what if they match up?
Let's not think about it.
I haven't even looked. Are they on the right sides? I haven't even looked.
We can't go through another Florida situation, right? Sorry, everybody.
They'll be insufferable at that point.
Jared, any parting thoughts here for us?
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays out. Obviously, it's going to be different. It's going to be small capacities in these arenas. But some of the venues, like we were alluding to earlier, are going to be familiar to you. You're going to know Bloomington. You're going to know West Lafayette. You're going to know Hinkle Fieldhouse. You're going to know, obviously Lucas Oil, where you just saw the games the past few days. All the venues around central Indiana are just, it's a really great place for basketball, and they care. It's going to be really exciting to see how this plays out from a unique standpoint. I don't think the basketball will be a lot different. I think it's going to be I think once games tip off and once teams are, back into the tournament realities, you're going to see the same tournament you always see. And it's always awesome. You're going to see upsets. You're going to see crazy stuff. You're going to see, some unlikely team in the Elite Eight. You're going to see all the stuff that we, think about this. Like, I can't tell you who won the year that Chicago or Loyola Chicago made the Final Four. I don't remember. remember Loyola Chicago made the Final Four.
Yeah, same with George Mason.
George Mason, when they made the Final Four.
You always remember those stories, yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember who won. You know, I should, but I don't, because that's the stuff that makes this specific event so fabulous.
No doubt.
And I hope we get more memories like that.
Braggett, Alabama, and Ohio State could.
Wow.
Well, all right. As long as Devontae Smith is not eligible.
Yeah, he's not eligible. Oh, man. Well, appreciate both your time. Buckeyes, Bobcats, and 62 other teams have a chance for their one shining moment this year in the single greatest tournament in sports. So thank you both for your time. Everybody enjoy March Madness, and we're going to keep you updated throughout the big dance as Ohio State and *Ohio University try to go for a title. Take care, everyone.